Hey everyone, it's Amir and this is my first video on my BookTube channel. So if you're into reading and want answers from a fellow book lover, you're in the right place. So bienvenue and let's get into it. Today I'm going to talk about the book Dune. First of all, I'm going to give a background of what you're going to face while reading. So from this point on, we're entering a spoiler territory and we will have some few spoilers, but it won't hurt the story. So anyway, consider this your official warning. This book is a science fiction masterpiece which follows the journey of Paul Atreides as he becomes the great messiah in a far distant future on none other than a mysterious land called Arrakis, where two things matters the most, water and spice. Okay, what's spice? Herbert described it as the spice of spices. It's an addictive substance for which the Arrakis is the unique source. And it's something of high value, especially among the group of desert-dwelling people called Fremens. And by the way, who are the Fremens? Fremens are deeply religious people living in the vast desert of Arrakis. They are very well acquainted with the desert's harsh rules. As for example, they have some special suits which recycle their body's moisture so they don't waste a single drop and they end up drinking it back. So let's get back to Paul. He is a prince of House Atreides, ruled by his father Duke Leto. They live on the planet Caladon, which is entirely different of what we see in Arrakis. As for example, this is a planet rich in water with frequent rain and rivers. And when they're forced to leave their planet Caladon and move to Arrakis, Paul feels emotionally uprooted, and it's not easy for him. There's also a group called Bene Gesserit, essentially a secretive sisterhood that trains women in physical, mental, and even mystical disciplines. Their main goal is to control bloodlines across generations in order to produce a superhuman, a prophesied superhuman, known as Kwisatz Haderach, which roughly translates to the shortening of the way. And this being is meant to be a male Bene Gesserit with powers that bridge space and time as described by the book. So how does Paul tie into all of this? Well, his mother, Lady Jessica, is a member of the Bene Gesserit, and this makes Paul genetically and mentally predisposed to extraordinary abilities. And this is something important as the story unfolds and Paul tries to find his place among the Fremen. There are also other fascinating characters like Mentats and various masters. Mentats are essentially human computers, people trained to think with extreme logic and precision, often serving noble houses in political and strategic matters. Well, this was the background I'd like you to know, but there are also some interesting facts I'd like to share. One is that although the book is set far in the future, it doesn't rely on robots, AIs, or other typical high-tech elements we see in most sci-fis. Mentats, for example, exist because thinking machines were banned long ago. Even the Fremen use traditional weapons like cries knives, the blade made from the teeth of the dead sandworms, which they consider also sacred. But in contrast, the Sardaukar use advanced technology like laser guns and other powerful weapons that this makes a stark contrast between the two sides. The second interesting fact about the book is that Herbert infused the book with elements from his background of religious studies. One example is the concept jihad, which Paul foresees as inevitable, and it is a great war with fatal consequences across the universe. Another example is the idea of Mahdi, a prophesied figure the Fremen believe will lead them to paradise. Interestingly, this term is also found in Shia Islam, where Mahdi is seen as the great Messiah, a savior who will bring peace to the world. There are more other words like Mihna, Ummah, Tahaddi that you'll encounter as you read, and there are also other terms found in Islam. This religious and cultural infusion really stood out to me, especially because I was already familiar with some of these terms, and um, I could recognize the similarities between the Fremen and real world Muslim communities. Also, since I had already watched the Denis Villeneuve's Dune adaptation, I kind of knew what I was getting into, and uh, I was really excited to see how the book describes things like the technology, the desert, the sandworms, and other details. And honestly, even though the book goes into way more depths, this adaptation, Dune Part 1 and 2, uh, did a great job capturing the feel and the atmosphere of the story. So if you're not sure whether you'll enjoy the book, I recommend watching the movies first. They're a great introduction to the world of Dune. However, the book is so much richer in terms of the plot, and there are also some noticeable differences between the book and the movie. As for example, Lady Leah, Paul's sister, uh, appear earlier in the book and plays a major role in the book 3 of the book, Dune. And also Count Fendring, who's quite important in the book, does not appear in the movie at all. But by the way, as I said before, the movie Dune Part 1 and 2, Denis Villeneuve's adaptation, is a great gateway to enter the universe of Dune, and I actually recommend you to watch it, whether before you read or after it. But honestly, there are some points faibles, some weak points in the book too. One example is that each chapter begins with a quote from the writings of Princess Irulan, who later becomes the Pole's wife and her queen. In some cases, these quotes spoil major events in the story, revealing things I would have preferred to discover as I read. Also, some parts, especially in book 2, start to drag. Because first, the pacing slows down so much that it becomes hard to stay engaged. And second, some sections are overly long or filled with details that don't really add much to the story. So it took me about 107 days to finish the book. Also, I never considered DNFing it, as the pace picks up in the last 100 pages, and you'll move past the slower sections. Moreover, some parts are written in a complex style that's hard to grasp on the first read. So you have to read again and again to realize what's really going on, and it makes you want to stop. What I like to add is the 5 sequels written after the first book. I haven't read them yet, but I'm really excited to serve more in this universe and explore how this universe works on a deeper level. So after reading them, I'll definitely make videos concentrating on the sequels. The sequels in order are as follows: uh, Dune Messiah, Children of Dune, God Emperor of Dune, Heretics of Dune, and the last one is Chapter House Dune. This series is actually not finished because Herbert died before finishing the series. Also, let's dive a bit into Herbert's life and how he got the idea of Dune. Herbert began researching Dune in 1959, and the book Dune was published in 1965. He later admitted that he got the idea because he was assigned to write a magazine article about the sand dunes in Oregon Dunes near Florence, Oregon. But then he became deeply invested, and he ended up with far more raw material than needed for an article. While the article was never written, it planted in Herbert a seed that later would become Dune. As I mentioned earlier, another thing I found interesting about Herbert is how he wove religious ideas into the book, and not to preach, but to explore how different beliefs, how belief systems shape societies. Herbert also shows how religion can be used as a tool. The Bene Gesserit, for example, plant messianic myths on different planets just in case they need to manipulate people later. It's like mm, religious engineering. It's kind of terrifying, but also brilliant world building. In the end, if you're into sci-fi and want to live in an epic universe for a while, this book is definitely for you. I rated the book 4 out of 5, and it's definitely worth reading. So if you have read Dune or the sequels, I would be really happy if you drop your opinions in the comments, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Love y'all. Bye for now.